Hello, today we're going to take a look at how to create a Google Classroom. So to get started, I'm in my Drive. I'm going to click on the Apps browser and scroll down until I see Google Classroom. If you've never been to Google Classroom before, it'll prompt you to choose your role as either a teacher or a student. Since you are teachers, you should always choose that first and then go from there. So the first thing you want to do to create a class is come over and select, you have two options from the plus menu. You can have join a class or create a class. To make your own class, if you don't already have one, you just go to the plus and click create. You need to give it a name. You want to make sure the name is consistent with what you're teaching, the semester, and the year that you are teaching it. Students have been invited to lots of Google Classrooms, and you want to make it easy for them to find. So, for example, this one will be you don't have to fill out this part, the geometry. The only thing that's really required is this here. You may want to include your name, it's your choice, but keep your naming conventions similar across each subject that you teach. So it takes just a second to create the classroom, just to build through all the files and things like that. It's also creating a folder in your Google Drive that will house all of those materials. So the first thing you'll notice, you have the upcoming, that's what's due in the next few weeks. You can schedule things ahead of time. You can also have things delay posting. That's up to you. Here we have our stream. This is where you will communicate with everyone, although it tends to get crowded with everything you post. So, but it's a good place if you need to post an announcement for students to see. The next section is your Classwork tab. It's empty right now, but as you create things, it will be populated here and students can scroll based on the topic. So it's very important to have your topics aligned with what you'll be teaching. They can be edited at any time, so if you realize something doesn't fit, that's not a problem. The third tab is your People tab. This is where you will find yourself. If you have a co-teacher, this is where you would invite your co-teacher with the plus sign and then search by email for their name. Here is your Students tab. You have a couple of options when you add your students to a given block. And yes, I did name this for first block because you want a different classroom for each block of students or each subject area you teach. Otherwise, the newsfeed becomes very complicated and you want to just keep things open and easy. And that way, if you don't get to something with one group, it's reflective for them and you can kind of go ahead, don't have to wait. So you have an invite code here, but you can also add students manually. I actually recommend doing this, just it kind of helps get them there and it saves time having to enter the code and they can't see the letters and that sort of thing. But you just start typing their name and you'll see all the students with those names. You'll know that it's a student because their email is always a number at hopewell.k12, not a name or letters. So that should help you with that one. If you do want to share by a class code, it's very small right here, but if you come up to the Settings tab, and you'll notice it here as well, you'll select Display, and that way it's very easy to project on the screen. It'll be easy to read for everyone. And then you can actually go to full screen if you need to. So while we're in the Settings tab, you need to make a choice. For the stream that's on the main page, you have to set the options for students. The default is that students can post and comment. You know your students, so make that decision based on them. You can also choose so that they can only comment. That means you're doing the posting and they comment. Or you can save it so that only teachers can post and comment. One of the downfalls of Google is that if you have it set to students can post and comment, and only one or two students is saying or typing inappropriate things, you have to turn it off for everyone. You can't just pick and choose students. The other is to show deleted items. That means students can see what you've deleted, or here only teachers can view what has been deleted. So that's kind of your settings menu. If you do need to change the name of your course, you can do so here by clicking the pencil at any time, and the students will see it updated. So now that we're here, let's take a look at the Classwork tab. So this is where you'll create assignments and questions. Come up to the bubble. Here's where you can create a topic. So for example, introduction, and add. Now everything that you post with that will be listed, and you tag it with the topic of introduction, it will all be listed under here. If you create another topic, it'll be posted here. Now if I create an assignment, if I click create again, I have a couple of options. I can create classroom materials. So those would be materials that you'd want students to look at related to the topic, whether it's a video or a website, something that you want them to see but not necessarily manipulate, you'd mark as a material. So possibly your course syllabus that you just want them to view but don't want to have to edit or make a copy, that sort of thing. A question is kind of like a class poll, be good for a warm-up or seeing what's going on, reading the room, that sort of thing. Students can post and their answer. Now, if you have it set so that only teachers can reply, you'll get this in a private comment and not in something that the whole class can see. So that's up to you to decide. Lastly is an assignment. When you add an assignment, you must give it a title. You can assign points. You can assign the due date. The minimum due date is 24 hours. You can also assign a time. So let's say 8 o'clock a.m. And you'll notice this is saving as you push it out. You'll also want to get in the habit of assigning a topic. So I'm going to push this as warm-ups. And now I want to attach a Google document. So from this, you're going to want to attach a Google document. So I need to have already created that document in my drive. It doesn't really matter where, as long as it's there, because I want it to be a Google Doc. I'm going to choose the one that I'd like to add for students. Now the default is that students can view the file, but because I want students to work individually for this assignment, I'm going to choose make a copy for each student. Instructions can go here, but as I show you in a minute, you're also going to want the instructions in the document. So right now, my document isn't completely full that I want the students to use, but I have to make the decision now when I first create the assignment to make a copy for each student. I can edit the actual Google Doc at any time, but once I make the post, I cannot change the rights for the students. So I have to decide right away if it's going to be they can view the file, they can edit the file, or make a copy. So I'm going to hit assign. you'll notice that in the stream, because I have a due date, oh, it's not too soon yet, so we're okay. But as it gets closer to this date, that assignment will publish for students so that they are reminded that they have work to do. So let's take a look at the sample work document. So you want to make sure the title is the title of the assignment. You may want to be consistent in your naming. That way, students know what to expect if it's morning work or warm-ups or a project or that sort of thing. And you want to always include the instructions here as well as on the project announcement here. That way they see it in multiple places. We want to make sure they're seeing it and don't have an excuse that they didn't know what to do. And then after your instructions, the student can just start typing in the document. And as they type, it will begin to save. So that's kind of a nice feature. Of course, because you haven't pushed it out to anyone yet, and this is your original, you can make edits at any point for what you want students to see. And they will be able to see that live once they click on it, so it saves it automatically. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close that out. The changes have been saved, and we can go here because I tagged it as a warm-up. If I go back in the stream, you can see I've added this assignment, and students will be able to see the whole stream from there. Back to classwork. This is where if I wanted to edit, rename it, I would click on the green bar, hit rename, and that would allow me to rename what that tag is, and then all of the assignments underneath will get an update for the tag. I can also move this if I want warm-ups to come first above the introduction. I hit that and it will allow the warm-ups to be the first thing students see before warm introduction. So it's just a matter of choice. So go ahead now. Your first assignment is to create a Google Classroom if you haven't already done so for your students this semester. If you already have one, it's not a big deal. It's perfect actually because you'll get to use the live one. If you had previously just removed students from an older classroom that you had created, you do want to create a new one. There have been some updates over the summer. Otherwise, you won't see these 3 tabs. It'll look a little bit different. All right, have a great day.